This Week in Richmond is made possible in part by Dignity Memorial, caring for our communities with a network of funeral homes and cemeteries in Virginia and throughout North America. More information about Dignity Memorial's providers is online at dignitymemorial.com. The Virginia Chamber of Commerce, the voice of the Virginia business community, working in legislative, regulatory, and political arenas to promote the free enterprise system. Information at vachamber.com. Virginia hospitals and health systems provide jobs. They support our economy and promote public health. Local hospitals are always open to help people with unexpected health needs. Having a stable healthcare network is vital. Virginia hospitals are our lifeline.
It's amazing what my students with special needs can accomplish. Their pride is priceless. That's why I teach.
Brought to you by the Virginia Education Association, because a good education is good for everybody.
Additional support is provided by these sponsors. And by the members of Virginia's public television stations. Thank you.
Welcome to This Week in Richmond, and a very special welcome back to Senator to the Senator. Did I? Excuse me.
Freudian slip there.
Yes. Well, we'll let that stay on the tape that we're recording. The Secretary of Transportation, Aubrey Layne. We're talking about legislators, but you are the Secretary, the Governor's Cabinet Secretary, and appreciate your being here to talk with our viewers about what's happening now during the session and what you see some other big things happening on in 2017.
Dave, thank you very much for being here. It's always nice to update your listeners on what's going on, your viewers. First of all, I'm happy to say not nearly the heavy lift this year in transportation that we've had in previous years.
That's a break for you.
It is, but fortunately worked real well with the House and Senate in the previous years, the governor on his priorities, and got them behind us. So this year, a couple things. In terms of our Public-Private Partnership Act, some cleanup we need to do there, some more transparency. One of the things that we heard from the legislature, they liked the way we've responded to them, the openness, and so giving them time to deliberate.
Right.
So we're putting some things in law to make sure whoever follows us in this position will go along the same path. So we'll be, like for instance, smart scale, and I don't know if you remember, but before we had that, the Transportation Board would get the projects in April, May, and then have to vote them in June. So we're going to make it law, and we'll be doing this tomorrow, as a matter of fact, at the Commonwealth Transportation Board, with the new scores, with the new scoring. So 5 full months of deliberation so the public can understand what's going on. So a couple of those transparency items. Probably one of the biggest things will be involving Metro. In Northern Virginia, the Metro Safety Commission, which is required to be set up by the federal authorities between us, Maryland, and the District of Columbia, to give greater oversight to some of the issues, particularly in safety, that's going on with Metro. So those will be the things we'll be concentrating on. Of course, David, you know, inevitably there's some things you like and you don't like, so we'll be playing defense. And I guess the most important thing that I'll be looking at and working is with the governor's leadership, Governor McAuliffe, and working with the speaker in the House and others, and certainly Senate leadership. Smart scale has really worked, this transparent and prioritization process. But it only works if you make everything go through it. So we'll be making sure that there are a lot of people say, well, my project didn't get funded, I wanted funded it anyway. Well, that would necessarily take away from the whole impact of smart scale. And I remind people, it's not necessarily bad, but limited resources have consequences. And so that's the issue we're dealing with here. We got to make sure we're good fiduciaries, good picking the right projects, and smart scale helps us do that. So that'll be something else I'll be on the alert for this year.
You mentioned transparency, and our viewers probably know that there's a great deal of live streaming of committee meetings in the General Assembly. What they may not know is that the Commonwealth Transportation Board has been doing live streaming of your meetings for some time. And so they can, if they have interest in some project, some matter, and they want to, and they can't travel to wherever your meeting is, not all of them are in Richmond, of course, then they can get on the site and can pull it up and see what's happening.
That's right. One of the first things that, in my role as secretary, I am also the chairman of the Commonwealth Transportation Board. And so one of the first things Governor McAuliffe wanted to make sure we brought new transparency, accountability. So you're right, we started live streaming every meeting, no matter where we are across the Commonwealth. I'm happy to say we've had no executive sessions with the Commonwealth Transportation Board. Everything's been debated in public.
Good. Right.
I always try to give at least 30 days where we debate something one meeting and then we vote the next, so the public has a understanding of that weigh in. I also have started live streaming and certainly taping all of our public hearings, so that even if they're not live, they can go to our website and see what was said. I actually believe that is the way to move transportation more efficiently and bring projects to fruition much more quickly. The real issue, and I tell people all the time, building the road's hard, but not nearly as hard as getting the political will and getting the resources behind it so that the road or the Amtrak extension or VRE extension or any transit, once you have the public and understanding what you're doing, they may not all agree, but they understand, then it's much easier to get those projects to fruition. So we very much put a big emphasis on transparency.
You know, one of the issues that's certainly taken up a fair amount of the time of staff and others has been the matter pertaining to Hanover County and Ashland with high-speed rail. And am I correct in thinking that while recommendations may come, that's really a federal government decision in the end as to which route or whatever happens?
That's right. That's right. It will be the FRA that will end up making the final decision, but they'll listen significantly to what we recommend. And you are right. That's a 123-mile corridor from Richmond up to D.C. Lots of different localities involved.
Right.
And Ashland, one of those where it runs right through their town. And of course, we're looking at putting additional capacity. That's one of the most congested rail areas, not just for passenger traffic, but for freight traffic. With the opening of the Virginia Avenue Tunnel in D.C. just a few weeks ago, now that allows double-stacked trains for CSX coming to the Port of Virginia. Norfolk Southern was already double-stacked, which means additional freight movement on that corridor.
Wow.
So whether we plan for it or not, the additional trains are coming. Ashland is an area where it's important, but we're able to work with the community there, whether it's through town or surrounding communities. That will be some of the last improvements done on that track. So what we've asked the FRA is, let's make decisions on everything else, and let's go back and take another year and work with the community. Again, back to what I talked about. They may not all agree, but they can understand it's the best choice we have. And I'll go back to say, if we don't even put new capacity, they're still going to be impacted as additional trains. And so let's plan for it. But you're right, that's a big area, and we're moving forward. That very congested area that we need to get some relief from.
Before our time's up, talk some about what's happening over on the Eastern Shore. That's pretty exciting there, and that's part of your secretariat.
It is. I mean, I'm one of the few in the United States as Secretary of Transportation has a spaceport. And so we have returned to flight this past few months ago. We renegotiated our contract with Orbital, and we supply the International Space Station, and they successfully did that. And so we've got several more of those planned in the coming months, a couple more possibly this year, and out through another 4 years or so. Plus, we've gotten a contract. They just announced this last week. We have a smaller pad that does lower orbit, whether it's satellites or other things that we're going to be using. And one of the things I'll be heavily involved in, I was elected as chairman of the Space Board, the Virginia Space Board, and I'll be working with them like we've done with the port, other areas, Commonwealth Transportation Board. Let's get a strategic business plan, real business plan, and let's grow this spaceport to make it the economic engine and the educational tool that all Virginians can be proud of.
In the airspace before long, there'll be lots of drones. Will they be part of your area too?
Absolutely will. Twofold, certainly in aviation and how they're allowed around airports and their use, but in the future, we've already seen deliveries, whether this country and in England, Amazon using that to test delivery of product. We have a runway over on the Eastern Shore as part of our Wallace facility with our space facility. We've been a leader in that, working with Virginia Tech, other institutions in the Commonwealth. So that'll be a big part, and we hope to capitalize on our being out in front.
I recall maybe over a year ago, one of the pilots was way out in Southwest Virginia with, I think Secretary Hazel was involved when they were
medical supplies.
Some medical supplies to get to the Ram Clinic and all. So.
Yeah, which is just could be a game changer for helping those that are most in need, getting to them in any type of terrain. So that's a big emphasis. You've got drones that are autonomous, but you've got autonomous vehicles that we're working with our partners, again, our educational institutions, but Uber, we're one of the first to reach agreement with them, and I was just at their facility in Pittsburgh, and they're here. So, and I'm happy to say Virginia is seen as a leader because we've been looking at what the laws are, but we haven't made any unnecessary laws. So we've allowed competition, allowed it to develop without restricting it. And I was just at a conference in Williamsburg a while back where we were recognized as one of the states that's doing it right in getting autonomous vehicles integrated into our traffic and our transportation systems.
Secretary Layne, so much appreciate your being on This Week in Richmond. And is there one other thing that I maybe haven't asked about that you want to get in before we close off the show?
Well, this is my last year. Governor McAuliffe cannot succeed himself. It's been a pleasure serving with him. So I don't know if I'll get a chance to come on your show again, but just to let all your viewers know it's been a great honor to serve Virginia. And I think we have, working with the legislature, the governor, moved transportation forward, and I would hope that that progress continues.
Secretary Layne, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Look forward to having you back, too.
That won't only be my decision, but anyway, thank you so much for saying so.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We'd like to welcome back Dr. Dietra Trent, Secretary of Education for the McAuliffe administration, right here as this session is going on with lots of education issues and education bills. So start us off with what's top on your list that you're working on.
Well, thank you, David. The most important is protecting the governor's investment in education. As you know, he and the General Assembly put $1 billion last year in education, and we want to just make sure we are protecting that and making sure particularly that we reserve the money that we put into the classrooms so that the localities are not harmed by any budget cuts that we might have to endure.
So that's
project number one.
That's number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Exactly.
The top, yes.
Exactly.
But then lots of legislation having to do elementary and secondary, having to do with higher ed. What are some of the ones that you'd like to highlight for us, the issues that are before the General Assembly?
Well, I guess I'd like to start with the governor's package on on education. Obviously, as I said, we want to continue to protect the investment. We also want to expand on his legacy. The governor has come in. He came in with the purpose of closing the achievement gap and also with providing greater access and affordability to particularly our underrepresented populations in Virginia. And so we have a number of bills that we've put in place to expand what we've already done. He's already made significant strides in both of those areas, and so we just want to make sure that we continue in that vein. Our K-12 piece of legislation, we have a very small package this year in terms of education, and we have 4 bills. 1 is in K-12 and 3 are in higher education. The K-12 is Virtual Virginia, and what we're trying to do there is to expand access to virtual education to all students. That is a bill that we are working on, where we have our patrons, we're working on. I want to just say, first of all, that Delegate Dickie Bell has been the champion of virtual education, and so we really appreciate all of his commitment to expanding virtual education and what he's done in the past. And he has a bill out also. We do not consider that a competing bill. We are working with the delegate to make sure that to try to ensure that we get to the same place by the end of the session. And so our bill is still a bill in progress, but I think that Delegate Bell has indicated that he would be willing to work with us, and so we're looking forward to work with him on his bill. In higher education, we have 3 bills. One is our foster care tuition grant. Currently, students in foster care can receive grants to go to community colleges to receive a degree. We've expanded that so that they can not only receive a degree, but they can also go in and use that money for non-credit bearing courses. So right now we have a lot of jobs.
That's good.
Yeah, so we have a lot of jobs that don't require a 2 or 4 year degree. It requires a license or certification. They are able to go in out of that same pool of money and take those courses. And so if they want to become a welder or an electrician, they can go in, they can take those courses, and they can use that tuition money for that. We also have what we are deeming the Students' Bill of Rights, and this is a bill that really protects students. Protects students from predatory lending on loan servicers. So students who, for instance, Sally Mae has a Navient, which is a servicing company for that loan. We are trying to protect students to make sure that they are not taken advantage of, that they know what they're getting into. So what this bill actually does is it puts an office of the ombudsman at the SEC, and that person that office would actually license these loan servicing companies so that they can also help students understand what they're actually getting into when they get their student loans, and what their payment plans will be and what their options are. Just trying to protect the student, making sure that they are not taken advantage of. So that's our second piece of legislation. And our final piece of legislation is our VGAP bill, and that's the Virginia Guaranteed Assistance Program. This is our financial aid for the state, and it's need-based financial aid. And basically what this does is it incentivizes students to take, on average, and it takes on average 30 hours per semester. We're trying to incentivize students to actually complete in 4 years. And so currently now, if you're a full-time student, that's 12 hours to receive Pell Grant or to receive federal funding. We're trying to incentivize them to take just one more course per semester to make sure that they're on track to graduate in 4 years. We believe that the best way to control tuition costs, obviously, is to get in and get out in 4 years with a degree. So we're trying to incentivize that. We're working now, Senator Saslaw is carrying that bill for us, and we're working with Delegate Cox, who is carrying his version of the bill. Delegate Cox and Senator Saslaw are working together, and we believe we're going to have success this year and get something out. So we're excited about that.
That's good. Sticking with that bill for just a moment, and I apologize I haven't read it, but so that's 30 hours in a year. Would that allow them to pick up some in the summer, or is that really just in 2 semesters?
So it's an average of 30.
An average of 30 per year.
And Delegate Cox's bill actually provides that you have to go to the next grade level before you get the additional financial aid. And so we're working with him to make sure that our bills are in concert, and that we can come out with the same version, hopefully. So it is an average. I'm not sure which bill will actually come out. I know we're working very closely. I think we'll come out with something. But the idea from both of the bills is to incentivize completion within 4 years. And it gives the university an option to give, if the student is actually taking that course, that course load, and they complete successfully, or in Delegate Cox's bill, if they complete a grade level or a level, then it gives the university an option to increase financial aid for that individual. So it really is, that is the incentive behind getting students to take a little bit more if they can.
Are you Are there many students coming out of high school now with already a fair number of college credits? I mention that because we've been delighted to have an intern this year at VCU who I think came to VCU with almost enough credits to have one semester's work done.
I don't know the answer to that, but my gut tells me that
It's probably increasing.
it is. I think it's probably the norm now, more so than the exception. I know many students who are on their way to four-year colleges that they go with dual enrollment or AP courses, and so they do go in with a lot of credit hours. Southside has a very, very robust dual enrollment program. I spoke at Southside Community College last year's graduation. They had almost 200 students who had received their associate's degree before they received their high school
that's
diploma.
Amazing. That's excellent.
So I think Southside has really been the leader in the state for dual enrollment. But I mean, in Northern Virginia, you have a lot of kids who are taking AP classes, and they are actually transferring to college credits. So I believe it's more of a norm than an exception right now. So that's exciting.
It will help some of the youngsters and their parents and their student debt coming on that they might get their bachelor's degree in 3 years.
Exactly. That's exactly right. That is the intent of it.
Move toward a master's.
Exactly.
Really
That's the
needed
intent.
in so many fields.
Yep.
On the loan part, we hear so many horror stories about the amount of student debt that people come out with and trying to find some way to deal with that debt. So if you're working on it and dealing with it up front to try to make sure that they're getting the best possible loans that they can get.
That's correct. And not only loans, financial aid. Last year, the governor and the General Assembly put in $51 million for need-based financial aid. So to actually provide more money and more opportunity for more need-based students to go to college. And so, and even now, there are a lot of legislation. I don't know them. There seems to be a lot of legislation out there that speaks to controlling debt and looking at how student debt. So these are things that are very, very important because, it's for a student to go to college and get a degree and then come out and be strapped with debt. It's just not a good thing to do. So we are looking at that from all sides, and I'm pleased that the General Assembly is having conversations about that today and throughout this session. So
excellent. So your package of 4. But yet if someone looks on the information system where they can find bills on education, there must be 100 or more bills that are dealing with education that are brought by members in each of the chambers. So it's got to keep you and your staff busy to determine perspectives or even positions on those bills.
yeah, we are actually looking through all of those bills now. And weighing in on our positions, and so there are a lot of bills. I think we have been through reviewed probably over 100. Today is the last day, the drop dead last day for filing. So I expect that to be a lot more. So yeah, there are a lot of good bills out there. There are a lot of great intention out there. There are some bills that probably a little concerning, but that's okay. We can get around all of that.
Sure. And we'll let our viewers know that we're actually having the conversation on Friday the 20th.
Yes.
And the day as we're talking is the deadline.
It is the deadline.
By the time people are seeing the show, then they should be able to find all the bills.
That's true.
That are out, unless there's unanimous consent to introduce yet another bill that always happens along the way that something else gets introduced.
Yeah.
So the protection in the budget for the monies that are there has got to be, as you started off with, one of the key things that you're working on.
That's correct. And I have to give credit to this General Assembly. I think that education is probably the one area, if not more, but particularly education is a nonpartisan issue.
Right.
I've heard nothing but positive things in terms of protecting the money that are going into the classrooms. I believe that everybody is committed to that. They have expressed commitment, and I have not. I mean, and I believe that is true. So I think we're very blessed in Virginia to have our team working together side by side. So
Well, thank you, Secretary Trent, for being on This Week in Richmond. We look forward to having a conversation when the session's over.
great.
Thank you.
So much. I appreciate it.
This Week in Richmond is made possible in part by Dignity Memorial, caring for our communities with a network of funeral homes and cemeteries in Virginia and throughout North America. More information about Dignity Memorial's providers is online at dignitymemorial.com. The Virginia Chamber of Commerce, the voice of the Virginia business community. For jobs, the economy, and public health, Virginia Hospitals, our lifeline.
The Virginia Education Association, because a good education is good for everybody.
Additional support is provided by these sponsors. And by the members of Virginia's public television stations. Thank you.